Support for Donnybrook Last Call is provided in part by Design Air Heating and Cooling.
Here on Last Call, we broached some of the topics we didn't have time for, Wendy, in the first segment, including what I thought was a very interesting story in the St. Louis Business Journal compiling the number of business departures from downtown St. Louis. In the legal field, Posanelli Law Firm, Brown and Crouppen, the Simon Group. In media, Fleischman Hillard, KMOV, KSDK, Focus St. Louis, the St. Louis Business Journal, Webster University, even the St. Louis Public Library moved out of one building, but thankfully it's still in downtown St. Louis. And I guess when you have 30% vacancy in the central business district and the square footage is going for $19 a square foot, in Clayton it's now $60 per square foot, you've got real problems in River City. You worked in downtown for 20 years. Is there any way for us to rebound?
I think it's going to rebound. I don't know if it will be in our lifetime, probably in your lifetime, but everything is cyclical. You know, you get to this 30,000 foot view and you do see the cycles. And I think that, you know, it was a perfect storm. The world started to change. The high tech world has changed everything. You know, we thought in terms of industry or the industrial side of things, we thought that was a change. This is significant. Then we had COVID. Then you've got so many issues within the city and the county in St. Louis. I do think it will come back. I just don't know when.
If you took from the riverfront to Busch Stadium and maybe 3 blocks west, ran that corridor to Washington Avenue, and you said, like, you know how to say, if I build it, they will come. It's a gauntlet. I'd have so many police and security guard officers and all that. Then I said, like, all right, the rent's a little cheaper. Then we open up a couple of places. Alvin's and Sarah's is down the block. And hey, they're having a great time at Alvin's and right down the block at Sarah's, and they kicking it. And it's safe, and there's police everywhere.
What about the National Guard?
And then
great.
and well, we didn't get to that because that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
But hey, and if I created a school, that school would be safe, and that people would want to go to that school. That's all you got to do.
You know, we have some big buildings down there, though, that I don't think will ever come back. The Railway Exchange building, that phone building, they're just impractical in the 21st century. And I don't know what you do with them, but as long as you have these old dinosaurs.
I think you can make any building work anywhere, but you just got to put it out there and say, like, look, this is not you're going to make a killing kind of, you know, RPI with it we're putting out there, all right? What we're putting out there is I got a low cost for you to create something here. Show us the plan, show us why it will work, and we'll make it safe. Give it a shot.
What I thought was fascinating is in this story, they said the region-wide office vacancy rate is like 19%. Downtown, it's 24%. This is not an astronomical number. This is after all of the businesses moving out that they're talking about. And all I have heard for the last 5 years from anyone at this table, is that, oh, let the last person in downtown turn off the lights. There's tumbleweed down there. It's so dangerous. And meanwhile, I'm finding out, it's just a few points higher than the regional average. It's only now just gotten to this level of 24%. How about when we were all freaking out 3 years ago? Where was it at then?
Well, the central business district is 30%.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you look at downtown as a whole, what's hotter right now is a different part of downtown, and that central business district includes a couple of these big albatross buildings that they are coming up with long-term plans for.
Yeah,
so it makes sense to me.
Why can't One Bell Center be commercial and residential, where you've got floors 1 through 20 or whatever? That's a commercial space. Then you've got residential high-rise, maybe for a reduced price.
Well, here's the reason.
Motivate.
Here's the thing, as in your recent podcast, you point out, the rest of the region is not sitting around. They are developing. I walked through the Loop today. They've got a bunch of new stores. They have more housing going up.
They do.
And Michael Steinberg was interviewed by the representative of South St. Louis, Sarah Fensky.
Sahara.
And he's putting $1 billion million into
Right.
Chesterfield, and do you think he's going to miss
Thank you,
the mark?
Mr. Steinberg.
No, I think there's great buildings going up all over the place, including a number of them in the city of St. Louis. Some of the problem downtown is that the people who own those buildings have sat on their laurels. They have not innovated. I know companies that have sought to stay downtown, and they said, yeah, the big problem is that there's not enough Class A space the way that you see in Clayton. So I think you're going to start seeing some market incentives for
And
people to get off their butt.
Every downtown business district in the St. Louis region, if you go there, regardless of municipality, they've got storefronts and buildings that are empty in their downtown area. There's just something to it. Part of that is the cost of doing business there. I think St. Louis could address that.
You know, I mean, you have remote work working against us, and you have people not going to brick and mortar stores anymore, ordering on Amazon.
That's exactly
I mean,
right.
The world is changing, and I'm
No, the world
I
likes a
think it
good
is.
time. If St. Louis could show the world a good time,
Okay.
they'll be back
Well,
down there.
you're right.
But
We've got the arch. That is nothing. That is no small potatoes.
I remember when Freddie Orlando was closing out, and I said to Freddie, "What can you do? What would you do downtown?" And he said, "Dancing girls."
I do.
And so Alvin, I mean, that's
Remind
the
us
world's
who
showing a
Freddie
good time.
Orlando is.
He owned
He
Orlando.
owned Freddie O's.
Yeah.
It was which started out as a bar and then became kind of a hamburger place.
Well, it's interesting. We had a story last week where we were talking to some of the people who are making it work right now on Wash Ave, and they said the key to what will bring people downtown right now is experiences. So, Bill, I think you're onto something.
Dancing
Well, it
girls.
was all Freddie O's idea.
I was just going to say Vice.
Alvin Reed. Michelle Munns of the Post-Dispatch took a look at a brain-eating amoeba that apparently was in the Lake of the Ozarks, and one fella right now I think might be battling for his life after he was swimming in the water there. Are you concerned at all about this?
Yeah, I would be, only because that's one of those stories that we say, look at the comments and how many people actually read the story, and it really catches your attention. I'm not joking here because the man, really is sick and this happens. But, Billy Long could go swimming in Iceland. He's not going to get probably like a brain amoeba. So why is this happening where it's happening? And you need to look into that. You can only play this off, so much. There's got to be a reason. And that's the water is not pure. And I know this day and age that science means nothing, but we might want to actually look into it down there.
Well, actually, it's happening in a lot of places. I mean, not in great numbers anywhere, but there's an amoeba even in the ocean. I was reading about that.
Oh, yeah.
In North Carolina and then
And the red
in
tide
Florida.
and-
I mean,
yeah.
so it is happening, but not at great frequency. And you wonder, are you supposed to just not go swimming anymore? I mean,
I don't know. It's going to have to be addressed because you certainly have you have increased pollution as much as if you're on social media and you see some of the bodies of water that people are jumping into, you're like, oh my God, I'd never let my kids get in that water. But I think in terms of the temperatures also are you've got global warming that makes a nice soup. I think in lakes like the Lake of the Ozarks, you have old buildings. You've got septic tanks that have eroded. They are going into the watershed. They're probably there's some runoff. I don't know what you can do about something like that.
Well, you could test the water, and then people not ignore when they say you got what they used to call a fecal soup here,
Right.
And then people would just say, no, that's that EPA
But
talking.
you saw
right?
Jaws. You saw Jaws. It's the 4th of July, and you're going to yell shark. If it's the 4th of July or
Right.
the Memorial Day or Labor Day, and you yell
You're-
fecal soup,
Yeah.
you're going to have a problem.
Pretty much. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
This weekend is the Taste of St. Louis, but it's in Clayton, Sarah.
Aren't you happy, Charlie?
Anywhere it goes, it'll be fine for me. No, but there are alternatives, as you point out, in the city of St. Louis.
Yeah, when they moved out of downtown St. Louis, a lot of people were like, oh, it must be the crime. And I interviewed this festival organizer at great length. He said, we never had a safety incident. He said, the problem is there are so many food festivals. Everybody sees this as a way to make money. They're all trying to get into that space. And I just thought it was fascinating, proving his point. There are 5 different festivals in the core of the metro area this very weekend. Schlafly is doing its new Pickle and Pint Festival. There's this new Foodies Eat First that's happening downtown that is really outside the box. There's a festival down on Cherokee. A ton of competition. So I think the big one's now in Clayton.
Refer
But
everybody to your newsletter.
yes, if people read my newsletter, they would know this. So
Yeah.
Right. St. Charles is having Festival of Little Hills, but they've had that like 100 years, so we
They're
can't
not gonna
blame.
have any water.
They don't have no water. They have food, but no water.
All right, well, wherever you go, bon appetit,
Phil.
and we hope to see you. Don't forget, Donny Bash, April the 16th. Put that on your calendar and contact 9PBS to make your reservations today. Everybody, we'll see you next week.